When I was in high school, my grandmother moved in with us. My dad's mom, her husband had passed a few years before, and it just got to the point where she couldn't live in the old house by herself anymore. And so we converted our family room into a bedroom for her. And she was always part of the family, but now she was part of the family every single day. As she moved in with us, she began to suffer from the effects of dementia. And it was very difficult to watch. And I put myself back in the shoes when I was 14, 15, 16 years old, and you don't understand what you're seeing. I look back now and wish that I had the knowledge that I possess now back then, because you get those feelings that are natural of anybody in high school. You're still young. You're a little embarrassed when she makes a mistake or says something, might be inappropriate in a conversation. And it's hard to understand that it's not her fault and she's not doing anything wrong. That's the disease talking and the disease manifesting itself in those behaviors. And when I've came into this industry and I've been through a lot of training, but especially the GEMS course, and understanding how to work with people who are suffering from Alzheimer's and suffering from dementia. And in my background, I like to joke that I have an engineering background. That was my major in college. And so everything for me is very logical. And to understand that logic is not going to solve this problem. What you need is comfort and compassion, and to make them feel comfortable and not feel embarrassed. And that when you bring up a discrepancy, it makes matters worse. And when you put yourself in their shoes and you understand that and go, oh, when we told her that she might have said something wrong, you'll get defensive, because what do you do when someone tells you you've done something wrong? You immediately kind of get defensive and you don't like it, and you don't understand that they didn't understand the mental capacity. It diminishes. It's a terrible, terrible disease that hopefully sometime we'll get a cure for. But I lived through that, and my grandmother lived with us until we couldn't care for her anymore, and then she moved into a nursing facility, and then obviously at some point she very sadly passed. But that was my real firsthand experience with it, and I think it shaped a great deal of where I am today. When I sit down with my clients, I remember that. I'm able to talk to those kids, because we get adult children in here who are still embarrassed by what mom or dad's doing, because we don't talk about these things. We don't bring them up in polite conversation for all sorts of different reasons. I think even as adults, we can tend to be a little embarrassed about it, and you don't want to let that out, that you're dealing with these struggles. And sometimes that's the best thing to do, is to share it, because you have a support network. We all hopefully have a support network, whether it's other family members or friends, and they can relieve some of the stresses, come give you a couple hours off, that caregiver burnout. The most important, I think, is just to know that you're not alone. I think a lot of people, they deal with these problems in isolation, and they don't understand that we're all dealing with this. Everybody, this disease at this point in time in our country, I think, touches almost everybody. Everyone, if they don't have a close family member, they have a friend who has a close family member. And when it's that prevalent, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. It's something to handle as best you can. And like anything else, becoming educated and knowing how to handle this. And for me, I didn't know how to handle it when I was younger. And I don't think that I did a bad job. I just certainly think I could have been better. I could have understood it better. I think about it and wish that I had gotten less embarrassed and more compassionate, understanding that this was a disease. And I think the more modern medicine progresses and the more we talk about it, the more all of our society understands that. I bring up that experience with clients. I bring up the experience of what those feelings were and what those emotions are. And I think it shows some empathy. I think when people feel like you've walked a mile in their shoes, it gets them to open up more. It's disarming. It's just disarming to know that you're not the only one with this problem. And my parents are getting older, and when we have these discussions, obviously with me doing what I do, And the one I always joke about is with my dad. We've had some of these conversations, and I always joke with him that as we talk about, end of life discussions and stuff like that, that my plan is that he'll live forever. That's what I want for my dad. And I tell the clients that, to tell them, I tell clients to have difficult conversations. I look them in the eye and I tell them these are conversations you have to ensure that the kids aren't burdened. And then I like to kind of break the ice a little bit with, but when I talk to my dad about it, he's just gonna live forever. It's different when it's your own family. Even when I do this, this is my job every single day, it's tough. It's a hard conversation to have, and obviously then we kind of had the real conversation. But I like to remind people, as much as I tell them this, I tell them I get it, because I've had these conversations. I've been through this, and I know it's easy for me to sometimes sit in my chair and tell you, you got to do these hard things. And I like to remind them it was hard for me too. And it's hard for us all, because it's personal and it's different. It's when it's your own. And that's why we reach out, and that's why you bring in the experts, because you have people who can, even the greatest sports athletes, they have a coach. LeBron James has a coach because he needs someone to push him and help him get better. And when we're going through this, even if we think we know, when it's your own family and when it's people that you love and care for more than anything in the world, you need someone to help you remain focused and see clearly, because that is an easy thing to have your judgment clouded.